Hello guys and welcome back to the F1 Tube YouTube channel, and in today's video we will be reviewing the 2019 British Grand Prix, and my word, that is up there with Austria with being the best race of 2019. It had drama, controversy, brilliant racing and just everything that F1 encapsulates. Let's start off with the race results, and it was Lewis Hamilton who claimed his 80th career win in F1 and his 6th win at home. He headed home a Mercedes 1-2 with Valtteri Bottas almost 25 seconds further back, but that does not tell the full story. Charles Leclerc came home P3, Gasly registered his best result for Red Bull so far with P4, then Max came P5 with Sainz best of the rest in P6. Then following that we have Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Kvyat and Hülkenberg rounding out the top 10. Let's start off with the race winners, Mercedes, who claimed yet another 1-2 finish. It was Lewis Hamilton who won at home, as I've previously mentioned, but yeah, it was lucky. Basically, Bottas held the lead at the start, and by the way, the scrap between the two Mercedes in the first 10 laps was utterly breathtaking, everything that F1 is about. Then Bottas pit, Hamilton stayed out, then the safety car was called out. Hamilton got a free pit stop, jumped ahead of Bottas. Bottas needed to commit to a 2-stop under the regulations, and well, Hamilton came home first and was never really challenged from there on in. Firstly, yes, Lewis was 100% lucky to get ahead of Bottas, but considering the fastest lap that he claimed on the last lap of the race on worn tyres, really, he was quicker than Bottas. In no way was Valtteri quicker than Lewis throughout the race. You could see it even in the first 10 laps. Lewis was all over Valtteri, but when it comes to the racing, Bottas did have the edge, so Hamilton was lucky, but I'm not sure who would have won. And also, luck is a part of F1. Drivers win and lose races through that. Hamilton's lost races through strategy and reliability, like Malaysia 2016 and Australia 2018, but that doesn't mean we cannot commiserate Valtteri Bottas, who was really unlucky. He held his own against Lewis in the first 10 laps, and, well, the poor guy did deserve better. I'm not sure if he would have beaten Lewis, but it would have been a really intense fight. Next up, Ferrari, Leclerc P3, Vettel P16. I mean, a very mixed day for the Scuderia, but brilliant racing throughout the Grand Prix. Leclerc and Vettel v Verstappen and Gasly. It was thrilling, and I mean thrilling to watch. And yeah, I mean, I cannot pick a particular battle between Leclerc and Max, because throughout the first half of the race, they were battling lap after lap after lap, but then of course Vettel came to blows with Verstappen, which I will come on to later. Red Bull definitely took the fight to Ferrari, and of course Verstappen-Vettel collision, I will come on to that later, but I'm happy for Gasly. He was very racy today. Obviously, he completed that overtake on Vettel, and it was just a part of the brilliant action that conveyed today. So I'm really happy for Pierre. That is definitely the boost he needed. Another thing that bugs me off, people will say Hamilton was lucky, but so was Carlos Sainz. He was about P11, P10, then the safety car comes out and he's in P6. I mean, that is luck as well, but he drove a great race. Best of the rest, he's really taken command in that certain championship. Lando Norris was very, very unlucky. He was forced into a 2-stop and it just never worked. I feel really sorry for the guy. Danny Rick drove well the whole race, really. I mean, he had solid pace and was competing against other teams like McLaren, Toro Rosso and Alfa Romeo. Nico Hülkenberg came home 10th and he was rather unlucky. He was, in my opinion, punted into by Sergio Perez, and then he had some kind of error with about 5 laps to go, so he's rather unlucky, but I still think Danny Rick would have finished ahead of him, but great points for Renault. Kimi did just a Kimi job, registering the points for Alfa Romeo today, coming home P8, a great drive from Kimi. But on the other hand, Antonio Giovinazzi spun out. He locked the rears going into the Vale chicane and he was out beached in the gravel, but without that we may not have had the action that unfolded. Daniil Kvyat, brilliant race, P17 to P9, great race. Albon was a bit unlucky, but I don't think he had astonishing pace during the Grand Prix, but a decent day for Toro Rosso, registering some more points. Like I said yesterday, Racing Point are just holding out for those upgrades coming for about the Singapore Grand Prix. In my opinion, by the way, Sergio Perez should definitely have got a penalty for the collision with Nico Hülkenberg going into Brooklands. He locked up, and yeah, as much as Hülkenberg didn't get that much damage, he still locked up and collided with him. Reliability shone for Williams again, as they have no pace, but both drivers finished ahead of Sebastian Vettel, which is a massive up for the team. I mean, yeah, the pace isn't there, but if they're hanging on to the reliability, then you never know, they could score a point if there is another chaotic race this year. Haas are somehow getting worse each race, both drivers colliding with each other on lap 1, sustaining damage, and both drivers are out of the race in the next 10 laps or so. I mean, yeah, if France and Austria were bad, then I think this defines woeful. My driver of the day goes to Daniil Kvyat, P17 to P9. Yes, he was a bit lucky, but the pace throughout the race was just there, a really impressive drive in my opinion. Now let's skip on to the Drivers' Championship standings, and Lewis Hamilton has opened up an even further lead, about 39 points to his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Despite not having the best outcome to his British Grand Prix, Max Verstappen has pulled further away from Sebastian Vettel for P3, but Charles Leclerc is breathing down his teammate's neck for P4 in the championship. Then we have Gasly, Sainz, Raikkonen, Norris and Ricciardo. Moving on to the constructors, I mean, Mercedes are just utterly dominant. Even after the poor Austria, they have just bounced back. 407 points, they are not going to be caught. Ferrari in second, Red Bull in third, McLaren easily in fourth. Then we have Renault, Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, Toro Rosso, Haas and Williams. Apologies for the quality of this image, but my god, the battle between Max and Charles was insane. If Austria is anything to go by, and today is anything to go by, this is going to be one of the most fearsome F1 battles ever seen. Now moving on to that collision involving Vettel and Verstappen, it was just a spectacular incident. Fortunately, both drivers were able to carry on despite having quite a lot of damage and not going at full pelt for the remainder of the Grand Prix. Verstappen got past Vettel on the outside of Stowe, but Vettel fought him back, and Vettel looked for the inside line into the Vale chicane, but Verstappen fairly, in my opinion, closed the door. Vettel ran into the back of Verstappen, and of course this occurred. In my opinion, it was another mistake from Sebastian Vettel. The gap going into the Vale chicane was never there, and Verstappen didn't really even need to close the door. Vettel was never going to make that move. But in my opinion, this is something that needs to be looked into, because Vettel was behind Verstappen, but the dirty air was definitely a factor in this collision unfolding, because the dirty air meant Vettel had no front downforce and he just ran into the back of Verstappen. Doesn't mean Vettel weren't at fault, but this is something that definitely needs to be looked into. So yeah, there is definitely going to be a lot of, not conspiracies, but statements saying that Lewis was definitely very lucky. And yes, he was very lucky, but he was definitely the quickest Mercedes. I mean, he definitely was quicker than Bottas when he sets the fastest lap on the last lap of the race on at least quite worn tyres compared to Bottas, who was on very new soft tyres. But luck can be a part of motorsport, F1 and sport in general. It's just the way it goes. But let's just treasure this race, because it was a brilliant race, and for the second race in a row we have had what can only be described as heaven to F1. Drama, pure racing, and just, yeah, everything that F1 represents. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please like this video, comment down below of how biased you think I am, and what you thought of the British Grand Prix and this race review. And please subscribe to the F1 Tube YouTube channel. We are still improving in terms of subscribers, and thank you very much for it. It does mean a lot to me. But until next time guys, see you later.